Okay, Paul, well I know just from working on the floor and clerking that the on-course business can be extremely precarious, especially for somebody that's a bit green. Did you test the water before investing?
Yes, I did, because when I had the betting shops first time round, I used to go racing maybe once a week. I got to know different characters there. The Tic-Tacs, at that time it was a guy called Mickey Fingers, Mickey Oki. You got to know the punters. I think Stan Flashman. I think there was a guy. And then I got to know only in a very small way John Banks, Jeff's father. But anyway, did I test the water? I don't know how we got to know him, but I met a guy who called I think his name was Fred Stevens, and he used to bet in the Silver Ring. There's some good pictures in the Silver Ring. And so I went, and it'll be at Plumpton and Fontwell, all the sort of southern tracks. And the only problem with Fred was he thought he was a bit of a judge. And as soon as this sounds a silly thing to say now because we all do it now, but as soon as the result was known, he'd put the prices up for the next race. He'd do his own tissue, and there were people there cleverer than him who would come and have the bets. I think Dave Sapphire used to do his own tissue and his stuff. And, I would say to Fred, hold on Fred, after about the third race, I want to go to the toilet, okay, or do something. Don't put any prices up. And I'd come back and he'd have queues. And this was our sort of money. And the other, how I also tested the water is we had this, as I said earlier, you get to know workmen as it sounds a bit derogatory calling them workmen, but floormen, if you like, at the races. And there was one guy there that said to me, and this is, how gullible can you be? Oh, my boss is looking for someone to help him out of the White City Dogs in the cheap ring. And so obviously he was going back, when White City was open. So I thought, well, I'm game for that. Much to my wife's annoyance of going every Saturday night. Anyway, we used to go over there, and I used to go over there, and all the bets were entered in pencil, and doesn't matter what seemed to win, we never seemed to do very well. And so I'm sure it was a run of just bad results, but I lasted about 6 weeks of that. So I tested the water in that respect, but that was my market research, if you like.
So when you actually invested your own money and bought your own pitches, betting as Pickwick,
yeah.
How did the on-course business meet your expectations?
Yes, I was very enthusiastic. I'm still enthusiastic now. As I said, I bought from. I run them in conjunction. So I bought Cheltenham, Worcester, Stratford and Chepstow, and I used to get so despondent if Chepstow was off, but I mean the game has changed immeasurably even since '99, with printed receipts and all this sort of thing. So it did meet my expectations, yes, very much so.
Okay, you're one of the few that bought in early and are still here to tell the tale. What was the biggest mistake that those that did their cobblers in double quick time make as bookmakers?
I think I had half a chance because of the betting shops. So I knew a few of the cons, if you like, or what to be wary of. And I mean, it's portrayed on television that you fill the hod up. Sorry, that's the bag where you put the cash for your, and the results take care of themselves. I think the results do take care of themselves over a period of time if you've got the right margin on the board. But to just go in there and take on the world, a lot of bookmakers have been like punters. I mean, in the 20 years or so I've been at the races, you'll see people turn up with load of money and think they know what they're doing, and then over a period of about a year they slowly do it all in. So I've always been an enthusiastic on-course bookmaker, What I as I've got older, what I don't like, I guess what a lot of older people would say, is the driving.
Okay, so how are things on course at the moment?
How are things at the moment? My standard answer to that is that the midweek racing is a bit of a struggle. Fridays, Saturdays usually okay, and the festivals are all right. But we keep going. The race courses have done a few incentives, and I think the profile of the punter has changed. You know, you get a lot of groups of young ladies, young guys, hen doos, stag doos coming along to the races and enjoy themselves, and it's just part of what they do, their entertainment for the day. Apart from the festivals and like major events like the Champions Day and things like that, the larger punters you don't see too many of now.
So have bookmakers had to reset their expectations a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I saw some photographs the other day on Twitter of I think in Maury Peters or something like that, of some years ago now, where I think his minimum bet was a fiver. Well, I mean, on a quiet day at I better be careful what I say. It's a quiet day at Wincanton. If someone wants £1 each way, we'll take it. You know, it's you just have to take what's there, really.
Okay, there's people that now like to say that on-course bookmakers, just commission agents, have everything back and green up every race. How realistic is that assumption?
Well, I don't go around really looking at people's books. I don't know that many people who actually green up. I know one or two, but we will stand horses, not for a lot of money, I would hasten to add. Although early part of the interview, this thing at Ascot a few weeks ago, we had to stand a horse for more than what we normally do. I guess 5 or 6. There was a good period of time where I would stand horses for myself, what I would consider quite a lot of money. Now I've been in the bookmaking game like for about 50 years, and I've never got used to losing. I take it that you've got to lose, and I pay with a smile. So in the early days, I would go to, let's say, somewhere like Taunton, and I would win like £4,000. Everything was rosy, great drive back. I'd then go to Chepstow the next day and do £3,000. And so, you know, after X's, there wouldn't be a lot in it. And it's just too much of an emotional roller coaster. So we play fairly tight. We don't green up now. And I don't actually, I think I know one or two who do, but I think the expenses are so high that you know, we are bookmakers after all.
Okay, so how many meetings that you could go to would you miss these days?
I don't think we actually miss any meetings because I still enjoy going. We only miss because of obviously cancellations or a clash. Sometimes this last season, Salisbury would clash with Ascot on a Saturday, like King George Day, so we'd give Salisbury a miss. We'd make a decision based on where we thought we could take where our turnover would be the greatest.
Okay, when the buying and selling came in, a lot of places were filled up all the time. And do you think the racecourses have found their level now?
Well, I think I'd have to say no, because there are still quite a few bookmakers who go who haven't got very good pitches. Now, I've been fortunate in that. I guess because of the betting shops and the way my life has evolved, I've managed to buy some decent pitches. What I would like to say, Simon, is that I think betting shops, the one big similarity between betting shops and the on-course market is this much used phrase of location. So in the betting shops, I always wanted them in a high street, a lot of pedestrian footfall, and also at the racecourse. You want to be somewhere where the punters are going to come through to you from the bar. And I mean, there are some bookmakers who still go now are from poor numbers, and I just don't know how they make it pay. But the number that attend has reduced slightly, I think, over the recent years.
Okay, what would your advice be to a young person who wishes to become a bookie, a racecourse bookie?
Yeah, I would. What I would do is, if you're starting from the basis of not knowing anybody or not having any experience, I would go to work for a bookmaker and learn the trade. I think you've got to learn to know what's going on, and it's not just a question of taking all the bets, because you know, anyone can put up 9 to 4 and everyone else is 2 to 1. Then obviously you'll take a lot of money on it, and over a period of time you do your money. So I would work for a bookmaker and get the experience. Is first of all. I would then look at the calendar, and I'd buy pitches on a Saturday, because it's the best day of the week, when there were quite a few clashes. As I said to you earlier on, for example, Ascot clashes with Salisbury. So what you'll find is most bookmakers would go to Ascot to reduce the numbers at Salisbury. So even relatively a high number pitch, as in like sort of 25, 26 or something like that at Salisbury, you may get quite a move up because most of the bookmakers will be at Ascot. So I would learn, I would go to the races, I'd get myself a job if I could, and take it from there.
Okay, what qualities do you think you would need to become a good bookmaker?
Patience. Patience, and not get despondent. If you've got it, if you think you've got it right, I mean, there's many ways of skinning the cat. You know, you can stand the outsiders, have the favourites running for you, vice versa. I always like to, well, I don't like, but I always like to have the favourites as a loser, and but just not get too depressed about it. It's like a marathon. It's not a sprint, you know. I mean, every day is another day. You know, you can win and lose. So just be patient and don't get too upset about it.
Okay, so alternatively, what are the characteristics of a bad, destined to be unsuccessful bookmaker?
Well, as I said earlier on, you know, going over the odds, thinking you could take on the world, life is easy. It isn't easy. You know, also you've got the expenses of employing people at the racecourse badges. And I think, as I say, I have never ever got used to losing, but certainly customers would not, I would always pay them out with a smile. You've got to learn the trade by working for someone, and pay out with a smile. I don't know, perhaps we'll talk about it later on. I mean, I had the betting shots when Dettori won, and you know, I paid the customers what they won, and it was through gritted teeth, if you like, but I smiled. They didn't know how I felt inside, if you like. But,
how long did it take to get it back off them?
Off of one of them, I don't think I ever did. We had two people, one in Cardiff and one funny enough, in Tewkesbury, who both had £1 each way accumulators, and at the morning prices. And the first one, a guy called Richard in Tewkesbury, he really got the bit between his teeth. They both won £100,000. It was my limit at the time. He really got the bit between his teeth. So he used to back Dettori's horses blindly prior to his Magnificent Seven, and he just upped his stake. And it took me about 2 years or so to get the money back off of him. The other guy just carried on his small bets.